Welcome to Theme Weavers, your weekly wisdom for weaving yoga themes into your classes to inspire your students. I'm your host, Heidi Kasner. Let's get started. Welcome to Theme Weavers. Today we are going to look at how to deliver a Dharma talk and weave the story of Sage Kasyapa, which teaches us about balance, interconnectedness, and the power of holding space for opposites. I'm sorry, it's Kasyapa. I said it a little bit funny. Sorry, Kasyapa. If this is the first episode you're listening to, please go back and check out Season 1, Episode 2 for details and background on the structure of how and why to weave themes through your yoga classes. And also, don't forget, I apologize in advance for any mispronunciations, but I am doing the best I can as a human. If you choose to use today's teachings as your theme, then please find a way to turn my voice into yours. Make this theme authentic to you specifically. You don't want to go around sounding like Heidi, you want to sound like yourself. Before we get started, if you are enjoying Theme Weavers, please leave a 5-star review and maybe even comment wherever you listen to your podcast. When you leave comments, it makes my heart all smiley. And also follow the show. It does make a difference for the algorithm to recommend the show to other people. Also, you can find the show on all the social channels to keep up to date with some fun reels and posts that I share. I try to do that each week. I'm really grateful to each of you who listen, and the more you share and interact, the more energy and excitement that it's sending my way. I always love on Thursdays, I wake up to an Instagram voice message from Adriana in England, and it makes me so happy. And I also just found out that Apple Podcasts won't show me any analytics, and I can't seem to respond to people's comments that you're leaving there, so I'm really sorry about that. I try and respond to people right away, but I can't there for some reason. But know that I appreciate it. And if you left a comment and shared the show there too, I appreciate it. I seem to only know how to use Spotify, which is nice for Spotify, and that I figured that out, but horrible that I can't figure out how to help others. But I'm trying. And if you are so inclined and enjoy the podcast, at least via Spotify, there is an option to set up a subscription to Theme Weavers for a small monthly fee. If you are a chromatic yoga teacher especially, consider subscribing to the podcast because as a paid subscriber, you are allowed and encouraged to track your listening hours as continuing education for chromatic yoga. Drop me a line at themeweaverspodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions about how to do that. But thank you to those of you that have been subscribing. It really is generous and I appreciate it. So thank you. And lastly, 2 pieces of exciting news. If you haven't heard, Theme Weavers Academy is launched and loaded and people are enjoying it so far. And I really appreciate it. It's a really fast, practical course that can help you craft your yoga classes with confidence and creativity around theming. I have the link in the show notes to learn more, and I hope that you join me. It's a really pretty course. I'm proud of it. And I also wrote a book. It's called Energize Your Life, a chakra workbook for personal transformation. You can visit HeidiKasnerYoga.com/chakra book. The link's also in the notes below, but check it out for details. I'm loving the book and the response to the book and the yoga community who's using it in teacher trainings and having me as a guest speaker. It's such an honor. I'm absolutely grateful and loving it. Okay, time for story time. Let's go jump into today's episode. I think I got all that out of the way in one breath. So today we're exploring the story of Sage Kasyapa, whose name and teachings inspire Kasyapa Asana. Known as the father of creatures, Kasyapa reminds us of our interconnectedness and the importance of balance in creation and in life. Sage Kasyapa is another of the 10 sons of the creator, god Brahma. 2 weeks ago, we talked about a different son of his, Marichi. So Sage Kasyapa was a wise and powerful seer, one of the sons there. Through his deep devotion and meditative practices, he was granted the ability to create life. Kasyapa had 2 wives, Kadru and Vinata, who represented opposing forces. Kadru symbolized the earthly, nurturing aspect of life, while Vinata embodied the celestial, expansive parts of nature. Kasyapa's legacy is a bit complex. From his wife Kadru came the serpents, symbolizing groundedness, wisdom, and transformation. And then from his wife Vinata came the great eagle Garuda, who we talked about last week. And maybe these names and characters are starting to become a little familiar to you. They are to me, which I'm really loving digging into this. And that represented freedom, courage, and the ability to soar. The balance between these 2 forces, earthly and heavenly, grounding and expanding, became central to his story. The relationships within his family were not without conflict, as Kadru and Vinata often did clash. I mean, I can't imagine being sister wives and getting along swimmingly, but, different people have different strengths, so maybe you'd be able to. I don't know. but I can understand how they weren't able to, and there was conflict. So despite the conflicts between them, Kasyapa's role was to hold the space for both energies, allowing them to coexist and create harmony. His life teaches us that creation is not linear or simple. It's a dynamic interplay of opposites that require balance, that require patience, and that require understanding. Kasyapa's story invites us to reflect on the balance that we cultivate in our own lives. Like Kadru and Vinata, we often feel pulled between the grounded responsibilities of life and the expansive desire for freedom and growth. I feel like at least every parent probably goes through this, right? You need to do all the things you need to do, and you also want to have your own freedom. And it's about balancing that, right? Both are essential, but harmony comes from honoring both forces without letting one dominate. It's really hard. Right? I always picture a seesaw and one side's winning, and how do you balance them out so they're both floating evenly in the air? This myth is particularly relevant today, as our lives often encourage us to prioritize one over the other. We might focus solely on achievement, neglecting rest and connection, or we might become so rooted in routine that we forget to dream and aspire. I think this also reminds me of, at least as women, I can speak to the conflict between career and wife and mother. Do we achieve outside the home, or is it our role solely in the home? Is it wrong to choose one over the other? Is balance even possible? These are the type of things I was thinking about when I was reading about this myth. Kasyapa's wisdom reminds us that true creation, whether it's a project, a relationship, or personal growth, arises when we balance groundedness with expansiveness. Okay, think about a time when you felt out of balance, either too tethered to routine or too lost in possibility. Kasyapa's story reminds us to find the middle path, recognizing that both groundedness and freedom are necessary for a meaningful life. This is not always easy, as conflict and tension can and do arise when opposing forces meet, both within ourselves or the people we surround ourselves with. But the practice of balance on and off of the mat reminds us that we have to cultivate patience, perspective, and the ability to hold space for complexity. I know, I'm just going to interrupt for a hot second. I don't know why I keep saying hot second. It's like the 90s again. I know I have a friend who we were first friends when we were both stay-at-home moms and had little kids. And then we both went back to work. But our part-time work jobs didn't always align. And she would get really angry with me when I wasn't making time for our friendship the way that I once had. But she was also working and her schedule had also changed, and we were all trying to balance out everything, wearing like 80 bazillion different hats, right? There's mom, there's wife, there's best friend, there's employee, there's teacher, there's daughter, there's cousin, there's sister, there's like all these roles that we wear, and everybody wants a piece of us, right? How do we balance all of that and feel like we're giving all these different parts enough of us that we're not drained by the end, and enough of us that we're still feeling fulfilled and not totally drained, because it's very easy to feel drained, especially when you're trying to be everything for everyone at all times. Yeah. So just as Kashyapa embraced the diversity of the life that he created, we too can embrace diverse aspects of ourselves and our experiences. As we flow through our practice today, let Kashyapa's story be a reflection of this for you. In the pose that we're in, can you feel the grounding through your foundation and the expansion through your heart and arms? Imagine yourself holding space for both the earthly and the heavenly, the practical and the aspirational. And in yoga, we hear this a lot, right? Can you root down, rise up? Can you balance effort and ease, strength with softening, right? We're constantly looking to balance these different things out in classes. All right. Some of these sages I enjoy learning about and sharing. I don't find their stories as honestly riveting, but just like learning a little bit about their history gives us themes to be able to grab from. I kind of like the ones that are much more like these riveting stories that I get drawn into seeing what they're doing. And I'm trying to shift back and forth between like the myths and the sages and, getting patterns and stories versus getting like totally drawn into this. Feels like I'm reading a chapter book to you. All right. So your Dharma talk story time. Oh, wait, I'm not done. I just want to say one other thing with that. If you're not finding the myths, not the myths, if you're not finding the sages as powerful and inspiring as you did the stories, there's still ways to feel and find the lessons to be just as inspiring, if not more so. So it just gives you more material to be able to work with. And different things resonate with different people, right? Just because I might not love the story doesn't mean that you won't love it, right? Or vice versa. Just because I love it doesn't mean that you won't. So, different strokes for different folks that are listening and also that are in your classes. So it's nice to have a breadth of ideas to pull from. Okay, so your Dharma talk story time is finished. And now it's time to get into the part of class where we find a phrase to drop as breadcrumbs throughout the class at different points to help your students come back to this idea of the story of Sage Kasyapa. You follow the breadcrumbs, then you stay on course and weave your theme throughout the whole class, making it that much richer and more engaging and meaningful for your students. So some options of phrases that I like to personally use, and let me know if you like them or if there's ones that you like better, and we can learn from each other. One is hold space for both grounding and freedom in this pose, or feel the balance between grounding and expansion. Or you are both grounded and limitless. Embrace them both. Or create space for all aspects of yourself to coexist. I really like that one. Create space for all aspects of yourself to coexist. And you can do that with the posture too, right? Create space for all aspects of this pose to coexist, which is pretty fun to do when you can find it both ways. But let me know if you have any others that you like. They're all pretty similar. So now that we have our thematic throughline phrase, let's have a chat about how we can bring all of this alive in the class. What additional things do you think we should hit on? Things like peak poses or specific pranayama or really anything else related to the story of Sage Kasyapa. So for me, I think Kushyapasana is a nice one. It's a pose that I've done, but I didn't know what it was called. It's a combination of side plank and half lotus with a bind. So most arm balances require core and shoulder strength, but this arm balance also requires hip and shoulder flexibility. It's a lot. Kushyapasana is an advanced variation of Ashistasana, or side plank, which requires strength, control, and mobility in the hips to perform. The preparation pose would be a side plank with the top leg and half lotus, but Kushyapasana is definitely a more challenging variation that involves binding also of the arms. So it's a really hard posture. And you need to have a lot of different competing things happening at once within your body, which is why it fits nicely and why it was probably named after the sage that we're talking about today. And if you want to bring some quotes into class, something I like is this one's Jana Kingsford. Balance is not something you find, it's something you create. Or this one is an unknown quote. Freedom and grounding are not opposites, they are partners. I like that one. Another unknown one. The art of balance is holding space for opposites to coexist. And you can see with these quotes, I sort of got my thematic through-line phrases from too. If you'd like mantra, there's Om Kushyapa Namaha. Salutations to Sage Kasyapa, who is the creator and harmonizer. Right? It's a nice one to use. And mudras, if you like hand gestures, there's Anjali Mudra, which you might know it's often performed in different yoga classes. It's the one where your hands are in prayer at heart center. And it's a nice symbolic mudra of unity and balance. And a nice pranayama for this theme would be Nadi Shodhana. And I know we've talked about this before, but it's a nice one. It's alternate nostril breathing, and it's used to balance opposing energies. So all of this seems to really be what I'm trying to share with you is how do we balance things in opposition? That's the general overall theme of what we're getting at. And if you like to give meditations, you could do a visualization where you can visualize yourself as Kushyapa, holding the energies of grounded serpents and soaring eagles. With each breath, feel yourself harmonizing these forces within, creating balance and connection. That's a pretty cool one. I like that because there's such I'm like in my head, one hand's being pulled to the earth and one's pulled to the sky. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's wrap up the class now that we talked about all of that. Here's what I would say is a reverse Dharma talk to close out the class at whatever portion that you like, whether it's before, after Shavasana, or in seated at the end. I say something like, as you prepare to leave your mat, take the lessons of Sage Kasyapa with you. Life is a dance between opposing forces, earth and sky, rest and action, freedom and responsibility. You have the power to hold space for these energies, finding balance and harmony within yourself. Ask yourself, where in my life can I create more balance? How can I honor both my grounding and my aspirations? Like Kushiapa, you are the creator of your own experience, shaping your life with intention and care. And just one last thing, real quick, that I wanted to say about this. What I just said about you are the creator of your own experience, shaping your life with intention and care, that is such an important point here, because how many of you know these people that like feel like they're pulled in every direction and they're always overwhelmed and they're always like, woe is me. I just can't do it all. I'm like a victim here. And I mean, I'm like that sometimes, sure. But when you can take a step back from it and realize when that's happening, you don't feel like you're the creator of anything. You're not acknowledging your role in any of it. But if we can encourage people to recognize that, like, we're going to always be pulled in opposing directions, and we get to choose how we handle that and how we want to shape our lives, where we can balance it all out, people feel a lot more autonomy and the capacity to do something. They feel a sense of control when they're often feeling like they can lose control and not have a way to be able to make it through. So this is a really nice way to wrap it up. Like, how are you going to take all the opposing roles that you experience in your life and find balance and care and love throughout it, so that way you're not pulled too far in either direction and get to that like breaking tipping point? Okay, so if you liked this yoga story time, find a way to bring the theme alive in your own voice, in your own practice, and in your own teaching. The story of Sage Kasyapa reminds us about balance, interconnectedness, and the power of holding space for opposites. May this myth inspire you to find harmony in your life and to shine your light both on and off the mat. Then please reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, email, any way that you want to, and let me know how it lands. Instagram with those little voice messages, that's my favorite when I wake up to. I'm here to support you, fellow yoga teacher, in your class preparation and delivery. So please let me know how I can be of the most support to you. Tune in next time for a new myth for inspiration for your classes. And don't forget to check out our course, Theme Weavers Academy, Crafting Impactful Classes. Please click the link in the show notes to learn more and enroll. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next week with a new myth and modern inspiration to bring to your practice and your teaching. See you next time.